Man, this comic book sucks! And the reviews online said it was good! I wasted my money! Why didn't somebody tell me?
Hey everybody, this is Spinnerack. We have Petey here. We also have
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
Now, this one, I've been wanting to bring our man Cal in here and talk about some more of this latest run of Superman with Brian Michael Bendis. And even though it's long, as we expect the Bendis, he does a pretty long story because this story has been continued from before the Man of Steel miniseries that just happened, and this is even after that. But I mean, we've getting some fun stuff. So we have Superman issue 3. He's still fighting our favorite villain now, Rogal Zar. And I've been having a hard time with it, so I'm just changing his name. His name is now Roger Zul. It seemed like it works for me.
Just call him Rogaine.
Rogaine's even better, but
Rogaine.
It's copyright, so we'll try to work either in. But at this point, this is almost seems like the penultimate chapter in this fight.
If only.
It's not the actual final, but it's like
This is like chapter 9.
Yes, this is like you go through like the Bible and you're in something that just keeps going. It's just gonna keep going, but
what is it? Jeremiah beget Jehoshaphat beget Gileam.
Exactly that part where, But the thing is, what I've got from this, even though it is in this part of this long story, we have a bunch of human moments in here, which is what I thought was lacking. I thought the human moments in the New 52, when they were trying to fix things, was more like Clark Kent would walk into the Daily Planet and say, "I'm not here to work. I'm here to use the water cooler, and I'm leaving." And the big supervillain would come in, and they're like, "Where's Lois?" And Lois and him would be fighting, and he'd reveal his identity or some nonsense like that. This one has some basic Superman interacting with the public. They have we talked about it before. They had a cool, fun moment in this issue where these guys are looting, and Superman comes and put everything back, and then they put everything back because he is Superman. There's 3 million ways he could stop people, but should be some you see him and not just he's just white bread, that sort of thing. I mean, this has been one of the few comics that I am saying is readable. I just think he went a little too long, and that's why I say it's close to the final chapter to this, because I'm not sure when this is going to end. I think his Ultimate Spider-Man went 6 issues. He didn't get into the costume to the end of issue 5. That's a little long. This one has been way longer than that, but we've gotten some human moments that I've enjoyed, and there's like some sort of another person that helped out in the death of Krypton. There's other new characters that are being introduced. So there's a lot of new bits that I don't know if it jives with what went before, but I gotta let the big guy on it because he is the Superman. He's got the S on his chest. We haven't been able to attack these books the way we wanted. We've gotten a little bit where we talked about them. What do you have to say?
That moment that you talk about, well, I'll say this much. I've been reading since Bendis came on. This is from Action Comics 1000. Mm-hmm. So far, in all this time, nothing has happened.
Something has happened. People have been beat up.
Okay.
People have been beat up.
Nothing has happened.
There've been fights.
It's not even bait and switch. It's like, hey, it's like literally when you're a teenager and you go to your friend's house to hang out and nothing happens. You guys are just there. Okay?
There are fights in it.
Yeah, okay. That's the background noise of the TV. It's like it's just better for us to be over your house hanging out. Okay, I have some company and I'm not at my house than for us to be at our respective homes. That would just be beyond lame. We can't do that. So yeah, nothing. Okay, there've been some fights, but really nothing has gone on for the most part.
Superman,
and strangely enough,
Rogo almost killed Superman in the first time they met. He almost killed him.
Yeah, and then it was never referenced again. And then he almost did it again, and then it was like it also disappeared. I was like, Is he dead or not? I was like, Superman's great. This is
a positive review. Don't forget, you guys. This is still positive.
Yeah, Superman, again, he killed him. Like, it looks like he killed him twice. And Superman was just up and going. I was like, he's better than ever. No, but, again, for some strange reason, I haven't been able to put my finger on it. I've actually been enjoying this. I don't know why. I would love to tell you why I don't know. I don't know if it's the art,
Art's been nice.
or because Bendis is on the book and he hasn't done anything constructively damaging to the character, which I was definitely afraid of after seeing the stuff that he did with these Marvel characters. Because a lot of the Marvel characters, they just gave Bendis the green light, and he was like, you know what? I don't like this for this character. Forget all this. We're gonna do this. And then he's over here like, yeah, I'm having fun. And you're sitting there like, what are you doing? Scarlet Witch is supposed to be mentally unstable. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But that scene right here, and you already said it, where the people are looting. And again, why do people start looting? They start looting because they really hate it's the end of the world, or I'm going to need this stuff, or hey, nobody's here to stop me. And Superman comes down. This is quick. This is, for Bendis, this was very good writing in the space of 3 panels, which is not necessarily his forte. Mm-hmm. You literally see the people running with the loot. The next panel, Superman comes down, and he was like, put it all back. Yeah. Like he's your dad. Like, what are you doing? Put it all back. And then when you see him, when you see Superman, you realize, okay, it's not over. It's not over. He's still on the job. He's going to save us all. And then you have this one guy, he says, like, told you so. Like, yeah, told you Superman was going to be here. Yeah. Like, we wouldn't get away with it. Mm-hmm. And where they're looting is in Metropolis, too. So you would think the people would actually know better. But you see the influence that he has right there on the people. And again, that was very succinct and very well done. That's Superman. Mm-hmm. That's the effect he's supposed to have on the people. That's well within his character, that all hell is breaking loose. But Metropolis is still his hub. That is still his major point on the earth. He's always looking out for it. He's looking out for everybody. Metropolis, with just like maybe a couple of extra seconds, he goes back. He's like, no. Metropolis, I'm still, here. Yeah. Put it all back. I'm going to take care of this. But man, I mean, if you're somebody who wants to come into Superman, again, and I know that's difficult for a lot of people because they believe they already know who Superman is without reading the comic. You've seen a cartoon, or you saw the film, or hey, you were in a drugstore and you saw Superman smiling saying, here, take a free toothbrush. Everybody believes they know who the character is already. So the drive to get somebody to actually read Superman is not really, I mean, it would be like me telling you here, why don't you read this comic book about Jesus Christ? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm good. I think I know who this guy is. Most people know or have a good understanding to the point, like, nah, maybe I'll read something else. Something might be a little bit more entertaining, something that's new. This, however, I do have to say is something where somebody who's in that situation could come in, read, yes, and enjoy. I mean, for me as a long-term Superman fan, I gotta be frank, there's nothing going on, and I'm like still waiting. I mean, there was stuff we had like a bit with Nuclear Man, and I was like, okay, let's see what happens here. He was gone in a flash.
He was gone in like the next panel.
Okay, and then Rogol Zar has turned out to be less of a villain and more like the ex-girlfriend who won't go away. It's like, didn't I beat you already? Like, come on, it's over, it's done at this point.
I think were they still in? Did they get out of the Phantom Zone in this issue?
They're in the Phantom Zone. Everybody, the Earth, everybody's still in the Phantom Zone. The only person who's out of the Phantom Zone is Adam Strange, who decided to come back from the Zeta Beam, and he's like, okay, I'm just here, I suppose. Yeah. Which was actually pretty clever, and that was actually pretty clever and was funny. It was witty. But they're still there, and I mean, I like the idea of, okay, the Earth is in the Phantom Zone, all hell is breaking loose, and the Phantom Zone is not a place for living people to go who haven't been transported there via the Phantom Zone projector. Because you can see it's affecting people. The other heroes are, ill. There's like, no, we can't. This is not like a place where we can live. But Superman, is okay at the end of the day. And those are things that I actually like to see with this character, because these are things I like to see what he brings to the table. He's not just another hero. Yeah. Okay? This is, where another guy may be like, oh, man, no. Superman is above and beyond those type of things. And I think readers actually need to be reminded of it just every so often. And Phantom Zone adventures are, tend to be pretty cool as well because of all the wild stuff that you can do. And this is pretty wild as well. Now, the payoff for me is how you do resolve this. How do you get the Earth out of the Phantom Zone? How do you do these particular things? I don't know. And at this point, I don't think Bendis knows how he gets the Earth out of the Phantom Zone either. But I can't say that it's not fun. The art is beautiful.
Yeah, and having the revolving door of artists at the same time is still stay strong. I mean, we have Pat Gleason, he's still doing action, Gleason is still on. But they're kind of switching, so it's not all Ivan Rice. I mean, there's been a mixture of all these artists. And the thing is that this will be a point for him where he doesn't have will he add a barnacle that'll add a new thing to Superman, or will he do what he's been doing, which has been, long form monthly comic books? And I think he can, but I don't know if he'd be able to resist adding something to it, saying now Superman has this bit and we have to talk about it all the time. And one of the things is that,
like the new power they gave him with the whole
the
solar flare power that now they don't want to use anymore.
Yeah, it was bad because it was the solar flare power. Ultimately, Johnny Storm uses his Nova Flame less than Superman used his. Like Johnny Storm is a hothead.
Well, they made it like he was addicted to it, or something of that nature. I thought the power itself was cool, but the whole idea of this power has a drawback. He's going to be human for 24 hours. Like, no, forget it, forget it.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, how much would he have to use it? They found out that he had to keep using it. Where Johnny Storm would use the full Nova Flame like every 50 issues.
Yeah.
Like this is a guy who's a hothead, and he's like having the ultimate control of his power, not saying, you know what, Hulk's here, Nova Flame.
Worst of it is that his son has it, John has it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but John was using it and wasn't reverting to human state. So I was like, okay, it's all over the place, you guys. The only thing I did like was that they didn't retcon, okay, he doesn't have the power anymore. I was like, no, deal with it. Okay, that's actually could be a very useful ability. You could get some good story out of that. It's not, like super kiss or, that type of stuff, or
super ventriloquism.
Ventriloquism I actually thought worked. I actually liked that. I thought it worked well.
But
there was some stuff he did with it. I was like, okay, that's clever.
Well, that was the side note. That was one of the interesting bits that they said at the Terracon that back in the day, Superman's face wasn't necessarily the same as Clark Kent's face, and over time, when you do a bunch of different artists, they started giving everyone the same face. So everybody in the Superman family and the villains all had the same face, which is
easy.
Which artists always sometimes struggle with different faces. But I think that in this case, I think they could get past it and introduce another new villain and not have it, because he's been doing well where they haven't. I mean, we still have the subplot of the female that's the spy that's at Daily Planet that needs to sort of develop into something.
That. You have the arsonist that still hasn't been resolved.
That Superman can't figure out where the arsonist is. We're not going to go to the critical part because I've been on the outskirts, because it's like when like say the X-Men or the New Gods or Thor, when you have this great run of, like Simonson or Byrne or whoever might be on it, I'll go back to a title. And I wanted to go back when Jeff Johns was with Richard Donner, and I kind of wasn't with that storyline. Then it fell apart because they couldn't keep Adam Kubert on the book after like 2 or 3 issues. He was, doing other things, and the storyline went kablooey. So then we had the New 52, and that kind of didn't work. And then we had Jeff Johns back on it. That kind of didn't work. So it's like, finally got something that's close, not perfect, but
the last thing that worked was Peter Tomasi. I mean, the Dan Jurgens run and Peter Tomasi's run on the respective books of Action and Superman. That actually worked. Okay, if you were somebody who wanted more of the classic stuff, you could have read the Jurgens run. And by classic, I mean the 1980, the post-crisis stuff where, he was still a little bit more limited and, along those lines. Not that he was limited in those stories, but it had that familiar feel. Superman written by Peter J. Tomasi, okay, and Patrick Gleason was on the book. Yeah, that was some really good stuff. Okay, that was it was entertaining. It was dynamic. For somebody like me, and you want the the exploratory, expansive stories, you had that. You had you had the Metropolis moments too. Which some guys really crave. It was really, and he really liked John Kent, so you got to see a lot of that and him developing the character as well. Some really good stuff at the end of the day. This with Bendis, however, the only reason why I can advocate for this for somebody new is that there's a whole bunch of stuff going on over here that is totally, literally, you can go back and say, I don't understand why this is happening. And you can go back to the previous issue and you can be all brought up to speed. You already know who Superman is. You'll find out who Rogozar is pretty quickly, what's going on with the Earth, and you can really get into it. It's rolling pretty quickly, but you can still you can hop on the train without a problem.
That's the other bit, is what you cannot do with a lot of other Bendis storylines, because at some point, I think I picked up Ultimate Spider-Man, and I was like saying, you know what, I'm getting a young Spider-Man. I got past the origin, and maybe I could get into this. But it was so far into its own sort of continuity. They had a bit where it was like, Gwen Stacy had a totally different personality. And so same with Mary Jane. So it was just like, am I just buying this because they look like they're got a young Spider-Man, or is this Mary Jane? And the Mary Jane in the comic books is like, there was nothing that could really get on her nerves, and she was the one that sort of had the guys sort of going wild. And it's like they're like, Gwen Stacy's like telling, talking, being close to Peter, saying she's this, she's that, and I was just like, this is teen drama, but this isn't really those characters. And this time, they're close enough. It's close enough. It doesn't seem like he's the same with the way the X-Men started, where he has the voice, and he's just how it ends is where I'd like to see. I want to see where it goes, to see if he leaves the barnacle or there's a change to the character that is added and talked about over and over again, because that killed me when you hear in like, ever since such and such, now I can't do this. And some characters that doesn't always stick. When Superman's a character that I think throughout of what he's gone through, it's not been like, oh, ever since such and such, the other L, there was the Lethal L's, the 2L story. Ever since that story, this woman died because she tried to kill me. At the same time, I can't give up. I feel bad about this. And he's not a character that these barnacles should always stay on. You can get rid of stuff and you run. You know what? Once you get rid of it, it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. Superman going to the Daily Planet. That's fine. I don't need to know that he went through all this stuff or he was stuck walking through on the Earth. We forget about that stuff. We move on. So I hope to see that nothing really sticks too long and they find some new villains that he can fight. So I guess that's a recommend on our end. That's as close as you're going to get, especially with a Bendis book. But we didn't slam it. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
See you next time.
Thanks, Spinner Rack. You saved me money.